Got you, mate.
Yes, guys, that's right. It is now time for another preview. We have Ireland, this team, the #1 ranked team in the world. Whatever you think of that, it is right. Ireland are #1 heading into Rugby World Cup 2019. I'm pleased to say I'm joined by a special guest today. It's Big Joe Shep from Three Blokes Ball and a Bod, which is a fantastic weekly show. 2 weeks, every 2 days, Tuesday and Thursday, you will have a Rugby World Cup show live on Facebook. Link to that in the description. Do go check it out. And I'm a panelist on it. So if you can't get enough of me on here, you can get more of me on there. How are you doing, Joe?
Brian, yeah, great. Listen, big honour to be on, mate. I know I've promised you for ages. Love what you do, kidder, and it's great to be able to. And I'm really chuffed that you're going to join us on the Rugby World Cup panel as well. So lots of things happening. Yeah, really. You know, it's 7 days today. So next Thursday for us is our preview show, and that's the first of 14 shows that we're doing during the World Cup up until Monday the 4th, which is when we'll have our overall review. And that'll be, like you say, twice a week. Every Tuesday and Thursday there'll be a roundup show. Tuesdays we'll be looking at the games from the previous weekend, and on a Tuesday we'll have an English Premiership Elite TMO, Keith Lewis, who runs rugbyreferees.net, on looking at that aspect. And on Thursday, the next panel will be previewing the games coming, and we'll have Gibraltar's head coach, Dave Barley, looking at the technical analysis of elite teams and what they go through. So lots and lots of great stuff there, mate. And like you say, you're going to be on yourself. So all good, all good. Can't wait.
Brilliant. Thank you. So I thought it would be really interesting to look at the history of Ireland at the World Cup. And there's a running theme going through, which is quarterfinals. And the question is this year, are they going to get past the quarterfinals? We'll get to that in a second. But from 1987 to 2003, quarterfinals. The less said about 2007, probably the better, pool stages. And then 2011 was a sweet moment for myself as a Welshman. And then 2015, again, quarterfinals. But #1 in the world, how's 2019 shaped for Ireland so far?
Well, I think that there's a lot of people say that we peaked. I think overall, when he comes down, you've got to trust in Joe Schmidt. He is one of the top 3 coaches in the world. He is, I think, the #1 coach. Excuse me. And you have to trust in what Joe is doing. This year in the Six Nations, you know, hammering by England, we just didn't seem to sort of counter that well. And then more recently, when we took a hammering from the Twickenham, a lot of people don't understand the cycle that they go through. And of course, that was probably during the heavy loading period, where actually they're just absolutely knackered. And it was just a very un-Irish, like, not to take away from England. I still think that England are the most attacking team in the Northern Hemisphere. But on that day, it was just, you know, sometimes games come in the cycle of what they're going through, and it doesn't correlate, you know, the game. It should do, but it doesn't. You know, the games are predetermined, the cycle, and it's all about getting to Japan. So I think we'll come on to the squad mix-up. I think that Joe has picked his squad for a specific reason. We'll cover that more, I know, but he's picked the squad on how he expects to play and how he expects teams to play against them. And I think that's why certain individuals didn't make it and certain individuals have done. But yeah, you know, look, we're going for the 7th time now, trying to get through the quarterfinals. I think we're going to be in a very good place. Only once, as we know, has a team at 2007, I think it was, as a team who weren't #1 in the world, won the World Cup. So, you know, it is good. I'm not a huge fan of the ranking systems, as most people know. But at the end of the day, you know, I think we have shown quite a bit of consistency over the last sort of 3 to 5 years and where we're going. And I think it's just the cycle we're through. So I'm quietly confident on what we do. My only concern has been that the narrowing on the pitch of you know, you see at Leinster at times over the last few years where the players are so keen to get engaged that we narrow in. And against fast-moving teams, Scotland can do it. Japan will definitely be able to do it. Samoans, you know, look, any team, especially the more you progress, but you got to look at your pool stages first. So that's a slight concern. But I think Joe Schmidt will have cards up his sleeve that he hasn't necessarily done. Lineouts, for example, I think will be a prime example of that, not having Devon Toner and how we adopt that. But yeah, I'm quietly confident that this time that we'll get through that quarterfinal hurdle for the first time. But it's one of those things that are hanging over people, sort of six times and not getting through. In fact, the reality is we've never won a knockout game at a Rugby World Cup since it started, and that in itself really is a bit of a telling tale.
Speaking about Big Dev, left out, Leinster player,
Yeah.
player.
Well, thank you first of all for wearing your Leinster shirt.
Yeah, of course.
This afternoon for me. Yeah, good man. I'm impressed, mate. Those little touches you do. I think that. I think leaving Dev out was again to go back to the style of play that Joe Schmidt will expect Ireland to play, and more importantly, the style of play that he believes that teams throughout the pools and further on stages we're likely to encounter. And I think that bringing Jean Klein in, you've got more of an enforcing type role. So, you've got Klein, you've got Big Reece Ruddock. Great to see him and great servant to the game. And not just because he's been a servant, because he's a robust individual. He's a great sort of back rower. And he brings a great captaincy and leadership to the team. Not that obviously he's going to be captain of the pitch, but he may be captain during the some of the pool stages, I suspect, that we'll see, because he does that. He brings that real strong leadership. Jack Cohn, number 8. Interesting people saying, I'll put Stander in there first. Stander's more of a 6. We know that, which is why Joe's been trying him back there again. Joe doesn't do anything without reason. I know he got pilloried for putting Henshaw at fullback for a game, in England, and he got hammered. Look, it is those things, but he's prepared to do what is necessary as part of that cycle of leading up. So Jean Klein, then, I don't think we've seen the best of him yet. I think when you look at his stats, there's an awful lot of an awful lot of work done that hasn't been realised by people. His stats are pretty amazing, and a lot of that work around the pitch, especially in the defensive role, and turning defence into attack, I think is why Joe's got some of those big players in. Ian Henderson in there, James Ryan's a shoo-in to start. Tyke Byrne, you look at those. Cronin, Stander, Byrne, Henderson, Klein, they're all big, powerful units. They all bring something that Dev, I don't believe, does bring around the park. And I have been a convert to Dev Tone, and I think he's been a tremendous servant, and he's done exceptionally well. And he is the line-out king. So therefore, we'll have to adapt, won't we, the line-out slightly. But we've got jumpers, Peter Marnie, great for stealing jumpers. James Ryan, Hendo. Look, I'd rather have the more dominant back 5 than go for the line out in the set play, because I think we can adapt that, and I think it's the right decision overall.
Yeah, it's interesting that he's decided to pick someone who was only maybe eligible to play 2 days before he's put in the squad, but it happens all over the world. You look at Wales, and looking like we're going to start a Kiwi-born fly half, a centre, and a Tongan-born number 8. It's just what happens these days. And
it is. I mean, everybody has covered that, and that's why we covered it last night on the show about the South Africans and the whole posting. It's just rubbish. It is the cycle. In any sport as a business now, rugby is a multi-billion pound, dollar, yen, whatever business. And why should it be different than any other business where you headhunt people to come in? Is it right that I think that's right that the residency thing has changed to 5 years, by the way, starting, was it next year, 2020? But I think that they're the rules. And whether somebody moves when they're 5 years old, or somebody moves when they're 19 or 20 years old, and if you play your trade in that, and then you're eligible, and they're the rules, then you play your trade and you're eligible. So whether it's 1 day or 5 years, listen, you support the team that has been picked, that are within the guidelines and the rules that are allowed to go. Just let's not make a big thing about it. It is what it is.
Yeah. So Pool A for Ireland, you've got Japan hosts, Russia, Samoa, and a well-known rival in Scotland.
Yeah.
Surely your favourites for this group. You're getting out easy, surely.
I wouldn't say it's going to be easy. I think this is probably the most open competition that we will have seen since the Rugby World Cup started, Brandon. And I think in Pool A, I think it's fab that the opening game on a week on Sunday is against Scotland, because I think that will set a marker for both teams on getting through. I think Ireland will edge Scotland out. But I think it's going to be a hard-fought game. I think we'll overcome them in the pack, and we'll use that as a driving force going through. Excuse me, but we've seen how Scotland can get the ball out. In the same with Glasgow Warriors. That ball getting out quickly out to the sides, and the speed and the turn of it. And I go back to that bit that concerns me slightly is that we go too narrow in the field. You allow that, and Scotland will be gone. So I think we will edge them out on that. I think if everybody's automatically writing Russia off, they haven't had very good results of late. Obviously, a tonking against Italy, 85-15, beaten by Jersey, the English Premiership team. Fair play to them. Sorry, the English, the Division 1 team, wasn't it? And then they just recently been beaten by Connacht. So they're. Alan Jones, their coach, he is up against it, but I think that they will be targeting. They've got, I think the pack's quite strong. They've got Kirill Gotsev. We got his name wrong there. Kirill Gotsev, who's the prop who's only been playing for 5 years. Former wrestler, former bobslayer. Started 5 years ago. Within 12 months, he was in the team. Good, solid prop, and I think they've got a couple of key plays in there that they will base it around. So I think they will target Japan and Samoa. First game, obviously, they've got Russia and Japan. The opening game on the Friday, the 20th, and I think that there's a potential there that Japan may be overawed by the whole ceremony and hosting and stuff like that. I don't think they'll be strong enough, but I think that Russia will target Samoa, Japan, and probably Samoa more. Samoa have, we look at them, they haven't won a tier one against a tier one team, I think, since 2014 or 2015. Manu Samoa, great pedigree once upon a time, but they've been slipping further and further and further back. So, that's not good. Russia, for example, only scraped in after the fiasco in European Rugby Europe over Romania and Spain. But look, they're taking their chances. So, they had previously beaten an Argentinian 15, and they'd beaten Namibia as well at the start of the new coach's regime. But overall, you have to think in a pecking order. Really, Russia will play hard, and I think they will target Samoa. But I don't think they're going to come close enough to winning a game. But I'd say that they would probably target Samoa. Japan, however, and I don't think Samoa have got enough. I just don't think they're in the right place as they were years ago. So that leaves you three, doesn't it? Ireland, Scotland, and Japan. Japan get off to a flying start against Russia. They will target. They're not going to be afraid of anybody. I mean, they've proved that how capable and dependable they are. Very, very astute coach, bringing most of the plays to some Wolves and playing all them as a team, and he's been training and training and training. I did say last night on the show though that that's great, putting almost your national team into a regional side, if you like, a club side. Haguareth, great in Super Rugby. Hasn't transposed itself when they've gone back. Mario Ledesma hasn't really done that. Same thing with, what is 3/4 of the Haguareth squad into Argentina. So will the same thing happen with the Sunwolves oblique Japan? So, but I think Japan play some fabulous open rugby. They're not scared of anybody. And I think Scotland and Ireland have to be very, very careful of what they do. And I think both of those games could pull themselves very close. Opening game there for Scotland and Ireland, I think, will set the scene for the group.
Yeah, definitely. And Japan, actually, I think, are quite suited to playing Scotland. Both teams very comfortable throwing the ball about, trying different things. And it could be similar to what happened between Fiji and Wales in 2007, where Wales tried to play like Fiji and it just didn't work. So I think Scotland game, but Ireland to get out of the group. It looks likely, like possibly New Zealand or South Africa. But you have New Zealand or South Africa in the quarterfinals.
Yeah, and to be honest, I wouldn't be that phased by either of them. I think South Africa are probably the form team if you're looking at the current cycles of where things are going. South Africa in the southern hemisphere, England in the northern hemisphere would be the two teams who are standing out at the moment. I mean, clearly nobody ever writes off the All Blacks because they always tend to come good, and it only takes a second to turn something from nothing, and you've got to play for 80.5 minutes, from start to finish. But I think South Africa are a real threat. Personally, I welcome playing strong teams. I'd rather have it when they're doing the draw, actually, that you just put all the teams in a hat and draw them out. I don't like seeds. I know why it's done, so you have, top seeds, tiers like that. But actually, do you know what? I'd throw them all into a hat. And if you had Ireland, England, Australia, New Zealand, and South Africa in one pool, bring it on. Because I think there's more opportunity for a tier 2, tier 3 side to get through. But we are where we are. I think that... I think it will be, getting that far will be a massive test. Out of all of the teams there, I would probably fear South Africa more than any, because I think Rassie has really worked them well into where he's got them, and he has taken a bunch of. You take New Zealand, and they're all uber talented individuals. They're all in their own element. They haven't necessarily been playing as well as a team. I think they've lacked a bit of leadership since McCaw's gone, personally. What Rassie has done is he's taken some exceptional players and some reasonably good players. I can't say that I'm not even anywhere near their level, but you know what I'm saying. He's taken some exceptional players and he's got some reasonably good players, and he's bonded a team together. And I think that's a real difference. And I think when you make a team, you can absolutely achieve anything. I don't think you have to be. The most talented players in the world to be able to come together. And I think he's got that. And a huge amount will Herschel Jantjies and I know we're sort of going off the pool, Herschel Jantjies, and especially Faf de Klerk. If Faf is a game changer for me, very underestimated, I think, by a lot of people. But they would be my team I'd want to avoid to the final. So I think it's good. So quarter-final, look, you play the best. I think some games, actually, Brandon, some games in this competition will be won and lost on the day. I think if a team, because it is so open, if a team turns up and they are mentally in the right place, and it all happens and comes together on the day, I think that's what we're going to see. And I think potentially, this might sound wrong, I think potentially the best team might not win, because on the day, that's why cup competitions are fab. Because anything can happen against the minnows or against the top tier sides. If you just don't turn up, you haven't got that 1% extra on the top there. So probably I'm excited. I said, I described it last night. I am next Friday when it starts. I will be happier than a seagull with a stolen chip.
It's that time now, isn't it? It's like the week before it starts. It's so long, this final week now. So close. Yeah, can't
it's like we've been building up to it for forever and a day, and now it's so close. It just seems like just get around. Yeah. I'll be happy next Thursday when we get onto our preview show, and then it gets started. And again, in a couple of weeks' time, it's 6 weeks' time. When we do the final show on Monday the 4th, which will be the Saturday, isn't it? The 2nd is the final. It'll be like, where's that time gone? Yeah. And what will we do afterwards then? So it's really exciting, and I'm glad it's quite open, in all honesty. From a rugby purist point of view, I think that's going to be really fab. What about yourself? What are your thoughts?
I think, I'd say there are probably 5 teams that maybe could win it. So you got England, South Africa, New Zealand, Ireland, Wales. Probably wouldn't quite put France in there at the minute, but they're an outside shout. And yeah, Ireland have a good record against New Zealand, and they know they can beat New Zealand, which is obviously something that Wales, for instance, has never really done consistently. And South Africa, as you said, are the form team. And I do expect Ireland to get out of the group top. I think Japan will put in a good showing, and it's Japan against Scotland is the final game in the pool. So if Scotland have lost that last game and Japan have only lost one, it's very interesting all of a sudden. All the pressures on Scotland and the whole world, except for Scottish people, of course, want Japan to win. So it makes it very interesting. And it's great that it's so open.
Yeah, definitely, and I think it's the awareness that's been raised of rugby is probably the highest it's been, and it's a great time, I think, to be doing it. So I'm very much looking forward to it.
So your predictions for Ireland?
I think Ireland will go on and win it. I think we've got to overcome South Africa, but I think there is something that we are building there that hitherto we haven't had, and despite the little blips going through as we've been building and going through the cycle, I think the only thing that is going to stop us winning is ourselves. I think the lads have got to have that belief and go out there and go and play our own game. Put a strong defence in when it's need to be, and then look to quick counter. I was there at the game last week against Wales, and it was almost like we'd gone back a few years in style of play, but it became effective. And you know what? You have a whole pile of things in your arsenal, and if you have to go back 5 years to the way you played, and you have something that creates a result, people only remember the result.
Yeah.
So yes, I think we can do it, and I think the team for us to beat will be South Africa. But I go back to I think there's going to be a few little hiccups along the way. I think there's going to be one massive game, and like you say, the first game and the last game are going to be pretty pivotal, because if Scotland beat us, then it's a game changer from our perspective. If they lose and then they're up against Japan, a lot will come on points, and it's I'll tell you, it's fab. I love the way things sometimes can go down to the final day, or to the final game, and it can change everything, because it just keeps it fresh, and it keeps a lot of other people who are outside of the two sets of fans there watching to see how it's going to go as well from a rugby perspective, and I think that's a great thing to be doing.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you very much, Joe, for your time. Yeah, guys, check out the link in the description. Worth a watch. Absolutely love being on their show as well, and I'll be on it in a couple of weeks, so make sure to check it out.
Cool. Thanks very much for your time, mate, and good luck with everything you're doing with BIS Rugby. Love what you do.
Thank you, and yeah, I'll be on the show very soon. Looking forward to it.
Cheers, Brandon. Take care, mate.
Thank you.